Raptors run out of gas against the Boston Celtics. 109-97 is your final. Welcome to the Scotia Club inside Scotiabank Arena. I'm Randy Urban, and this is Raptors Night Cap. Tonight, we're joined by Sherman Hamilton. Why are you laughing already? Amy Audibert and Paul Jones. What's wrong?
I don't know.
Off to an auspicious start.
Can you be professional? Just be professional.
I'm sorry. We had a moment in our last show. There's still some tension going on here.
That's why they're sitting on opposite ends of the table.
That's right. Josie, I'm going to start with you. Raptors.
You sure you don't want to start with Sherman?
No. He's last, or if we get to him at all.
What did I miss?
Or if we get to him at all. Raptors were right there most of this game, and then the fourth quarter, the wheels kind of came off. What happened?
You're undermanned.
Yeah.
Right? You're playing shorthanded. And other guys step forward. And for a while, you can hang in there. But the longer you go, the more you get exposed. And we were talking about it off mic here, the fact that they were down, 10, 12, 13, and you come back and you get it to 1, and you don't quite climb the hill and the Sisyphus complex, right? You push the rock up the hill, then you slide down, and you got to push it again. And I just think when you're that far undermanned, it's tough to get a complete effort out of everybody. They got nailed on the free throw line. There was a lot of fouls called. Free throw shooting discrepancy was big. I thought, honestly, with what they had for a lineup, they really hung in and did a good job and had a chance to win that thing, but ran out of gas.
God.
Well, Jonesy mentioned free throw discrepancy. 31 free throws for Celtics. Why such a big discrepancy?
Well, it's interesting because Fred just talked about that.
Can't be fined. It's okay.
No, and it's funny because
Randy will pay it.
When Fred just spoke about it in his post game, I did ask about that because at one point I think it was like 18-3, right? And the Raptors want to play aggressive. They know that's demanded of them. But then when you see the whistle going that way, like how do you kind of pull back without actually pulling back? I mean, that killed them tonight, right? Yeah. That was the difference. I think Boston was 29 for 31 from the free throw line. And I mean, again, but the mood is not that of they're upset right now because the effort, right? Like they're not upset at the effort. Obviously, they got to find a way to win those games. But what I would say, which was, I guess, glass half full, is that they kept around in Golden State. Yeah. They kept around. Well, Portland, I'd still go back and say that one's the one that you wanted, but they stayed tough in Utah, and they had Gary. It's the NBA. It's going to be hard to win when some of your top talent is not playing, right? So the fact, again, that they just kept responding the whole game, that's got to keep them somewhat optimistic.
Sure. What did you see in this one?
Again, they need guys on the floor. They need a healthy roster. That's obvious. I mean, you think about some of the numbers in the game. They outscored Boston 27-7 in transition points.
Yeah.
They turned them over 18 times. They did a good job in terms of offensive rebounding. They did a lot of positive things, but if you don't have the firepower, it's just not going to happen. And, the Celtics, they're number 7 in terms of free throws attempted per game.
Yeah.
So it's not an aberration that they shoot a lot of free throws. But that's one of the things coming into this game. You have to defend without fouling because they live at the free throw line. And it's difficult to do that when you don't have two of your best perimeter defenders in Gary Trent Jr. and OG Anunoby. So you just can't make up for all of that. Yeah. No matter who you throw out there, it's tough to make up for all of that.
And to Sherman's point, everybody will look at the offense. Oh, there's no OG. Kem Birch isn't there to set the screens and offensive rebound. And, there's no Gary Trent Jr. to make shots. Look at the other end, what those guys give you. And the defensive part of it, too. To Sherman's point, and, Amy, we're all talking here, I thought they did a really good job with what they had. I really, really did. And you could see Nick reaching down the bench. He's like, well, let me give this guy a try. Let me give this guy a try. He's just looking for anything that might spark and get them over the top.
Too tired from the road trip? Like, is that, can you say that or no?
We know what that first game back is like.
Well, we can say that. They can't.
They can't. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, it's a reality. I mean, you come back after a long road trip, and that first game back can be the last game of the road trip, the extended road trip. So, and it's a difficult matchup, and it's an early game. There's a lot of things not going in the Raptors' favor. They won't make the excuse, and rightfully so, but it's a tough situation.
It's funny, you mentioned OG, and I'm like, oh yeah, OG, he's been so good. And you kind of forget because it's just been this natural thing this season where guys are out, guys are in, guys are out. And I can't wait till he's back. And
hold on one second. And they also they hold Jason Tatum to 8 points.
Yeah, 2 of 16 or something.
Like, there's a lot of numbers in this game that should lead to a Raptor win.
Well, then you look at the box. Like, even at half, they were shooting over 40%.
Boston was shooting in the 30s.
It was like, if you look at the box score and you're like, they should be
Numbers
winning
lie,
this
right?
game.
Yeah,
Other
numbers
than
are
They don't
the
lie,
one
but
thing
they
was
don't tell the whole truth.
And the one number you can always go back to in this one is the free throws. Like, that was the difference, right? Like 30 points, basically.
Fred had a good game, obviously, 27 points, 5 threes, 40 minutes though. Sherman, are we concerned about this?
About his minutes?
Yeah, like, is this something that that they should temper here? Because it seems like
I'm sure they'd love to.
they just can't.
But they're trying to win, and they're aware of it, And I think when you're trying to win games, in the heart of the game, sometimes that can get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And Fred, he wants to be in the fight. It's not like Fred's getting to 33 minutes and saying, I've had enough. He wants to win.
So you rest him in other ways, Randy.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. Like, he's not practicing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? He wears his sweats and he gets a few shots up, and the other guys are practicing. It's like, Fred, you take it easy today.
Yeah.
And we know he's like mentally, his mental toughness is like greater than most human beings, I think, right?
Yeah.
And I think in these moments in a season, that's what it goes back to for him too.
Just like last show, we talked about how.
Oh, boy.
Last show.
Is this what happened?
Yeah, you missed this, Amy.
I swear this is going off the rails.
Take lessons now, Amy.
Going off the
You
rails.
guys all played a lot better, more higher level than I did, and I will say, does 33 minutes to 40 really matter? Like, does that?
I think it does.
Like, does it?
And you're talking about Fred?
Yeah,
And
I'm just
he's
talking about
getting
in
knocked,
general.
like
In
the other
general,
thing
like if you
too,
play
right?
34 minutes, can't you play 40?
But the way oh my gosh, I get it now. Because the way he plays, right, too, like he's constantly taking contact, he's getting hit, and really, I mean, again, I don't think Fred's going to say this, but he is trying to put this team on his shoulders right now and figure out a way to win games. I mean,
Those are heavy minutes.
Yeah,
they are heavy minutes.
He's not floating around in a corner.
No,
like,
I
he's
know.
out there, he's
And-
facilitating, he's taking contact.
You don't want to come out at that point.
And to Sherman's point, he's trying to win.
Yeah.
And when he knows he's one of the best players, I'm out there, I'm trying to win, I'm trying to, get my guys involved. What does it look like if I'm one of the leaders? I'm asking out. No, stay in there.
That's an after the game discussion. This is not going into a game saying, you know what, I got to play 34 minutes.
Yeah.
And those 7 extra minutes on top of the 34 minutes in the game, they're hard. But you talk about that after. Next game, he'll lace him up. He'll be ready to go however many minutes Nick Nurse wants to play him, because he plays that type of basketball. He wants to win. He's, like Amy said, he's mentally tough as they come.
And you have to believe that he understands the pieces around him may help him have a really successful next couple years. And you have to think that what's happening right now is invaluable with the Scottie, with the Delano, a lot of new young faces. Like, now is when you start building that foundation. The mental toughness that Freddie has been there and done that. And no, he was in the G League doing it, by the way. So you have to believe that he understands that this time is pretty important.
I'll say this. They are, if we're looking at this as another climb up the hill, they're starting at a better spot now than they did in 2013 when they had, Kyle, and there was, like, everybody was so young, and DeMar, and they were just learning. Some of these guys already know what the class is about.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're 9-12. We said this last year. They could be 12-9.
Right.
They really could be. You beat Cleveland, you beat Detroit, you beat somebody else.
They could have ended the road trip.
Yeah.
500.
Right. And I thought the Portland game, like
And
you said,
as Amy
They
said,
just,
that
like,
Portland one got away from
That's,
them.
I mean, I was there, and I would say, like, every time you just felt like, I keep going back to Golden State, but playing in that arena, when it got to 10, 12, you kind of were like, uh-oh, here we go, right? And it just didn't happen. They do have grit to them, and that's the kind of stuff that, again, you don't measure on a box score, but we got to keep our glasses half full on this squad. I think we should.
I don't know if I should keep drinking it because it's 3/4.
Sherman, I want to ask you about this because Barnes had 4 threes tonight, 4 of 9. Great night shooting. Best night he's had as a pro shooting the ball from 3. Is it difficult as a pro to change your shot during the season? Because it's better. It's significantly better, in my opinion, than it was in the preseason. The mechanics of it.
I don't think guys really try to change their shot in the season. They've done it all the work in the offseason. And it's the constant, repetition and kind of hammering it home. then the shot starts going in.
Yeah.
Then the confidence starts coming through. And then you're starting to take shots in different ways. Like he had a shot today where the shot clock was winding down.
Yeah.
He had the ball high, took it over the defender, stepped back to gather himself and let it fly and knocked it down. Look, you've got to shoot shots to be able to make that shot with confidence in that situation. So he's put the work in. I don't think he's changing his shot right now, but he's put work in that's helping him make these shots now.
Remember when he was drafted and people were saying, well, you know, he doesn't shoot it that well.
Yeah.
Right? The other guy that they wanted to draft shoots it better. And I always say this, hey man, give me a kid that does everything else. When people go to the gym, they shoot.
They shoot, yeah.
So we'll work on the shooting. There's a lot of guys that came into this league that couldn't shoot. Magic Johnson, like Julius Erving. We'll work on the shooting. And I think, as Sherm said, with the repetition, you're seeing that with Scottie. He's getting more and more comfortable taking those shots.
I just think a lot of kids come, you know, they do the work and then all of a sudden they resort back to what's been comfortable. And that's the hard part. And that's what I'm not seeing from him. And I think that's like really impressive.
Played 1 year in college, you know.
Yeah.
It's like he's been playing on a couple different teams, and I think this is the one that he's probably like, I'm gonna develop and I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna work my tail off to get where you would like me to get.
Yeah.
He's 1 year removed from the prom, man.
That's it. He's a
Aren't we
one and
all?
done. Not too many people are. What is it? I'm freshman of the year defensive. I'm talking hoops. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Straighten them out.
Randy.
Amy. Straighten them out.
I
Randy.
apologize. Let's go. Let's do a little overtime real quick. Sure, because that I just ruined it there. 2-7 at home now. Are you seeing trends? Is this just like some bad luck situations, or is there something going on here playing at home?
Well, they're not winning. That's
Yeah.
what's happening. And again, it's not like they're not in games. It's not like they don't have chances to win. They've just got to be able to make those plays. You know, this is a game where you held Boston to under 42%. So that means you had opportunities in this game. And as we've talked about, they get it down to 1 point. They can't make that next bucket that Boston makes a few buckets, and all of a sudden now you've opened it up to a 7-point lead again. So it's not about the final result. It's about the junctures in the game that they've got to be able to make that play. Whether it's defensive or offensively, they've got to be able to make that play. And so far, they've had moments, but they haven't had enough of them. And, you know, this is a team that found a way to win on the road early, couldn't win at home, struggled a bit on the road this last road trip, and now they're going to have to figure it out because they've got a good stretch at home to make some hay.
Amy, you notice any trends?
No, I personally don't. And again, Fred spoke about it yesterday. He's been doing a lot of speaking because he's the leader of the team, just about how, again, doesn't want to use the inexperience, but understanding the dynamic of a crowd and how that can really help you, right? Because we know when this place gets fired up, you know, you almost have to, you have to dig down and get those possessions or get those stops or, you know, make those little layups because you get everywhere but just doesn't fall through the hoop. And, you know, 2-7 versus a different record is just getting that ball through the rim.
And Jonesy, just to go back to what you said earlier, like, look, this is a team, Boston was a team that, you know, they're supposed to be in the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference, and the Raptors are right there throughout the entire game with a depleted squad and a team that's rebuilding, you know.
Again, I'll go back to it. I thought they did a great job of hanging in.
Yeah.
Think of how many times that lead was, as Sherm said, 7, 8, 9. Amy, we talked about it, and then you get it down to 1, and you have a chance to take the lead. And did you study Greek mythology?
I did a little bit.
Remember the cat?
Actually.
Remember the cat Sisyphus
No.
pushing the rock up the hill?
I didn't.
And it slipped down, and you push it back up the hill. That's what I felt like the Raptors were doing all night.
Sounds like the Princess Bride.
He's still hanging out he's still at the prom. What are you talking about? You're talking about studies and he wants
Can
to
you
party.
guys eat, please, while I close the show? Like, the wings are just sitting there salivating. Next game for the Raptors, Tuesday night against the Memphis Grizzlies, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right back here at Scotiabank Arena. We will see you then.